Hey family, how y'all doing? Welcome to Mantle Motivations Podcast. I'm your host, Dominique Bishop. Today we have a special guest. My cousin Christopher Bishop is here, aka Bishop. How you doing, bro? You good?
I'm good, cousin. Just thriving, surviving, and just pushing forward. That's all we do.
That's what's up.
So on
All
it.
right. Dope. All right, so let's get into this. I'm gonna go ahead
Really,
and
yeah.
let me read your bio and introduce you to the people. Christopher Bishop, or Bishop for short, is a versatile artist with a unique blend of talents, proficient in popping, DJing, graphic design, and music production. He has carved a niche in the creative world. Raised in a multicultural community, Bishop's understanding of diverse cultures has shaped his artistic perspective. After overcoming a career-ending sports injury in high school, he discovered his passion for hip hop and pursued his education at the University of California, Riverside. Today, Bishop shares his expertise as an arts, media, and entertainment teacher at a charter school in Palm Springs, California, inspiring the next generation of creative minds. Welcome again, everybody, Christopher Bishop, aka Bishop. Yay. I need an applause button. I'm gonna have to give me a soundboard.
It's all good.
Oh man,
We're
so welcome to the
going on
podcast, Cuzzo.
I'm happy to be here, cuz. Thanks for
Oh yeah,
asking.
man. And then I'm gonna let everybody know, like I'm saying Cuzzo a lot because this is actually my blood cousin. We're relatives for real. So
Mhm.
I can allow him to utilize the name Bishop. I was just telling him, I say I go by Bishop too, because that's what everybody call me. So we in that together. He Bishop on the West Coast, I'm Bishop on the East Coast. So we got it.
Right.
So do me a favor. I know I read your bio, but just tell us a little bit more in depth about yourself. I know in your bio it speaks about your the injury you had in high school and your multicultural environment. But just give everybody a little bit more background about you.
Yeah. Long story short, like before I was even a dancer, like teaching hip hop in schools, I was an athlete back in the day. I played football, so I played linebacker and I played offensive guard.
Okay.
And I had some other defensive lineman positions. I was pretty athletic, pretty versatile on the field. And what happened was I actually had a torn meniscus, a torn knee injury, and it
Ooh.
was like a season-ending thing. And I just built a history over the time of my playing with just knee injuries. But doctors basically said no more contact sports, and for me, I was devastated because I was trying to go to use I was trying to get picked up, and had a few scholarship offers to play linebacker at different like colleges, and then on the back burner, one of my coaches was moving from our high school to the local college where I was being like pushed to play linebacker over there.
Hmm.
But ultimately, even I know even if I wanted to, I know that my knee wouldn't have like made it through college ball. Those boys are, yeah, they're
Yeah, they rough.
built. So, what exactly? It's rougher and it's faster, quicker, like everything high school. That I studied the game really religiously for like the 4 years of me being in high school, and so after that, like that's all I knew.
Hmm.
And from there, I had this career-ending knee injury where I couldn't like lift as much anymore, and I had to like take it easy. And for me, like I was more of like a rough head. I was a go-getter basically
Yeah.
in my position. And so I just learned over the course of time that I had to apply that same drive. And fortunately, I stumbled upon breakdancing and hip hop at like a high school rally. And that was my first exposure to it, but it just flowed naturally, just being, cultural and having music in our family into dance. And so I was able to learn, and I had the strength to do like a windmill. I had the strength to do like some freezes, and it was great, you know.
Hmm.
It wasn't later until I went from moving to the desert to Riverside when I was being a schoolboy, and it kind of like showed I didn't have to worry about getting a scholarship for athletics, I just went the community college route and just kind of found myself there, So I went to community college, byproduct of community college. So
Ain't nothing
um,
wrong with that at all.
no, yeah, no, I'm proud of it.
Education
I
is
got my
education. Yeah,
exactly. I went on and I spent some time just learning about myself as a person and what I really wanted to do with my life. And that's, I feel like for anybody, like every person of, I say person of culture, that's looking for, they don't know what to do after high school. I was one of those kids that just took general ed, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna try to figure out what I want to do, and it just built it. It just kind of like built into that, and but I wasn't really expecting it to be dance, but it just kind of came. It just happened. Yeah,
that's what's up. That's what's up. So,
yeah.
all right. So, let's talk about your environment. You talked about the multicultural environment, how diverse, and how the cultures work together. Um, so how did your environment shape you, with your approach to the arts? I know you said you kind of like fell into, breakdancing and or popping and
Pop-
yeah, pop locking. Um, but how did your environment or your multicultural community, shape you into that art? And then like some specific examples of how do these influences reflect in your work?
Oh yeah. So when it came to just funk music in general, like I just remember my family's always having these parties, and I was raised in like a heavy, predominantly like Chicano like neighborhood, and with that, they listen to Zapp and Roger. They have a lowrider culture. They have all of that, instilled in them as well. And also the black community as well. We have a black community out there in the Coachella Valley as well that are
Yeah,
they still listen to one ways, and I was able to find like a bridge in between two cultures through my street dance form. So it was like pop locking was something that was like happening for those two cultures in particular in the 80s and 90s. So, and they're still doing it till this day. So
mhm,
when I talk about funk music and one way and then transitioning into like that West Coast 90s like culture, it's all there. And nowadays we're seeing more Chicano rappers stepping up in the hip hop scene and like doing more raps and whatnot too. So it's like music and dance kind of flows really well. I also DJ too, so
yeah,
it's like the cohesion with that, and it kind of goes back to like hip hop culture, which was started on like breaking and DJing and MCing. I'm just living it through that. Like it's like a daily thing. I'm always trying to make a beat, trying to stay on point with like the music that I dig for, and it's kind of like I found a way to serve my purpose through those passions
yeah.
and create like a bridge between like black and brown culture is something I want to do and I like to do, so it's basically that. It's
I
crazy, it's like constantly evolving. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you were talking about your injury. So um even with the injury and then you started dancing, was that like a hard transition? Like did you have to do a rehab first or were you already rehabbed and healed before you started dancing? Like did you have to retrain yourself to do certain movements or like how was that transition?
Yeah, basically what I remember is like my first time going to physical therapy was when I was like freshman, I want to say 2005. I have a good memory and like for what they taught me in physical therapy. And the second time I injured my knee, I just kind of continued like that physical therapy, kind of watched myself. Like I was out for about 3 to 4 weeks until I actually like was able to do any crazy activity. And then over the duration of time, like it did heal up on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then from there was just I started studying like different ways of working out versus like doing the compound lifts, like heavy lifting. So I
Yeah.
got into like CrossFit, TRX, messing around with the kettlebells, and it was just a whole new way of training for dancing and just learning from other dancers like on what they do. Like one dancer who inspired me, he was from a dancer named Bionic, who's from the Bay Area. That guy does Muay Thai, and those guys
Really?
have yeah, and those guys have really strong legs. So
Yeah.
I was able to just kind of like see like the regimen of other dancers that were training for their style, and I was able to just like see how I can emulate, put in my own thing, that's where I kind of found that niche, and also find ways to kind of like move around my niche so that now it's like a lot of things that I do now more so are core exercises and knee exercises, but it's incorporated into my dancing now. Like
Okay.
popping, just it's just evolved over time with like it's not just about like going in the street and it's like it's not like going in the street and park and like
Hmm.
doing the thing anymore. Now it's about training and going to the gym and staying on that regimen now. So it's like that's where
Okay.
you're getting like Olympic caliber athletes.
That's what's up. So, because I know some people are just like naturally born to dance and they can just get up and do whatever. So,
Oh, yeah.
did you have to like, I know you were training, but was it an intense training? Did you like start from the basics, or was some of it already a part of you and you was like, oh, okay, I got this, I can do this, and then you had to train on other things? Or like, were
A
you at the ground and you had to start up?
A little bit of both because there's certain styles that are so intricate that you have to focus on like landing. Like for example, when I'm doing like tutting, your
Hmm.
angles have to be straight, right? I'm just simple box, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
some people their boxes end up being like this, right? So I was like one of these kids, and then
Okay.
eventually like you get to that. So it's just something as simple as that it took like just a lot of time to practice and stretching. But then there's also some things that, some moves where you're like turning or just I'm using like my body. Like for example, I used to do shot put, right? And
Hmm.
so it's like a
I
back
did
kick,
too.
which yeah, so that old school style with the back kick,
Uh-huh.
use that momentum to so I was working on ways of using that movement to create momentum for myself while I'm moving to, make my dance a little bit more dynamic.
Yeah, that
And
makes
so
sense.
yeah, and so it's little things like that that there's some things in dance you can't teach. Some people just have it in themselves. That's why I stress with my students like everyone dances differently, but
Mhm.
it's still similar in a style. Like you're still everyone if you're doing like a particular move and popping, people know what old man is or a scarecrow or whatever move that they're doing in that time. Yeah. But yeah, it's a little bit of both, honestly, for me.
Okay, that's what's up. So I know you wear many creative hats. We talk about popping, DJing, graphic design, and music production, right? So how do you balance these different talents? Is it one art form that particularly resonates with you, or do they all feed into each other?
Honestly, it honestly like just all feeds into each other. Sometimes there's a little niche, like for example, I saw that there was a niche for kids wanting to go to dance sessions in the Inland Empire region where I was at, and I had these skills of graphic design. So what I started doing was I started doing like local flyers for them to get people to come through,
That's
and it was
what's up.
just a niche, and it was like it was nothing paid or anything like that. I just wanted to create something and build something, and I learned somewhere along the line like design is like a really powerful tool and you can be dangerous with it, but at the same time like it's what you're basically doing is you're like, and I'm looking at it through like a designer lens, like you and I are users, and what's going to get us the impulse to click a particular thing or see
Right.
a particular item. So I have that in the back of my mind, and I'm just using it for like dance or designing. I found a way to kind of use that and understanding. And I have like a marketing head too, so I try to incorporate like the fundamentals of that into like flyers, and
Mm-hmm.
then I'll create my dope event so that I can go and dance on my dope event that I created. It becomes this cool like creative session, and it's also seeing that there's a need, and
Yeah.
if I can I've been able to play like the Wizard of Oz role where I've been able to go into a jam and play the whole jam and
Yeah.
like DJ the whole been to battles, and it's just the true epitome like what a Renaissance man is. But for me, I'm more humble about it. I kind of like hang back a lot because
Mm-hmm.
I just got this idea of saving my energy, for certain things, and that's how I'm able to kind of get through. Like I won't there are days where I'm just like solo and I just don't say anything
Mm-hmm.
because whatever I say kind of exerts particular energy.
Yeah.
So for me, I try to like just be in my like mental zone, just working on things and whatnot. So Um, if I can, so I've been able to create a flyer for events and create events based on that, which is it's a great way to do it, you know.
That's
And
what's up.
sometimes, yeah.
Let's talk about that real quick too. So like when do you know when you need to, I guess, because sometimes people don't know when to be quiet and when and when to act, or you know what I mean? They don't know when to turn it on or turn it off. So when do you know those moments where you need to like turn it on and turn it off? Well, you still being creative, but you're like, okay, I need to be within myself today. And that's where I'm drawing my strength from. Or all right, today I'm gonna draw my strength from, a outside influence. So is there like
Yeah.
a particular moment where you can flip it on and flip it off, or is it just like a kind of go with the flow type of thing?
Um, how I could explain it is like, for example, like when I remember trying to look for a flyer or something like that to do, like there's that on switch of just inspiration where I go on to like a portfolio of a designer who's from Spain or Portugal.
Hmm.
And I just try to like keep things fresh, like try to keep my perspective fresh when it comes to like designing, for example, or
Hmm.
dancing. I'll watch a battle, and that'll
Yeah,
just get me going on the practicing tip and creating a new choreography or music. You know, we got samples for days. Like there's so many old school like samples from the 60s and 70s onward Motown sound. So it's like,
good
and
music.
then and then I study producers. Like there's this channel called Mass Appeal, and they got this thing called Rhythm Roulette, where they have producers go in to like record shops and pick three records at random,
Mhm.
blindfolded, and they have to make a sample from the three records that they pick.
Oh, that's
And
dope.
so that's super dope. And so for me, I look into that. And I'm just like, I try to see what they do, and I try to see I can emulate it in my own way. That's other ways of getting inspired. I mean, I'll wake up in the morning, I'll go to a little vintage store, go to the vinyl area.
Hmm.
Every place got a vinyl and MP3, and so I try not to buy the vinyl. I'll just download the vinyl MP3 format,
Okay.
take it from YouTube, put it in the program, and just sample the heck out of it. That's my whole Sunday. But it happens sometimes when I was really like kind of going crazy with it, because I was just on my independent tip. It was like sporadic. It was just like beats right here, design over here, DJ gig on the weekend. So I was always it's just a constant ball, and it does
Yeah.
get exhausting, but it's one of those things. If you love something so much, you don't even realize the time and space of what you're doing or in what capacity. You just kind of keep on going and going and going till people tell you that you got to rest.
Right. And that's because it doesn't feel like work. Like it's a passion of yours. So you
Yeah.
you're happy when you're doing it. So it's not draining to you. You actually getting life from that. So I completely understand that. Like that's how I feel when I'm playing my drums. Like drums don't really tire me. When I'm on my kit, I got my headphones on. I can be on that thing for hours. Sometimes I'll be on there till like 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Then I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta go to work. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I completely understand. That's what's up. All right, so I'm gonna talk to you about being a teacher because I know you're passionate about that. So as a teacher of the arts, media, and entertainment, how do you inspire your students? Like what are some of the key lessons you hope to impart to the next generation of creative minds?
Yeah. You're asking really good questions too. So,
I try.
I inspire them in a sense to where like I I create little concepts for them. For example, like when I work with middle school kids,
Mhm.
it's hard to get them initially to want to dance, especially boys. Girls are always up and at ready to dance, but for them, they want something that they can resonate with them that's relevant to them in general. So I'm always trying to provide like experiences and give them like resources to do that. And for me, I just look at myself as a middle school kid and I wonder like what would I have wanted when I was like this kid growing up, with nothing to do. So I kind of think with that, I put that thinking cap on and I just try to apply that. And then with yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember the second part of the question to kind of tie in that idea. But yeah, I'm just like, giving them that relevancy
Mhm.
within. the street dance styles, with integrity, just to keeping this street dance or just dance in general and cohesive. I'm teaching multiple styles, making it cultural relevant to them, and then I'm you know, trying to just find ways of just making them want to come to school, making them like, if I teach them salsa on a Friday to
Yeah.
get them ready for school dance next week, then they're going to want to learn so that they won't feel lost or not knowing what to do when the DJ plays a salsa song at the school dance or something like that. Those little things. Those little things that teachers kind of that they're kind of like missed in the school system, but we don't think about the anxieties, the social anxieties or the behavioral anxieties that kind of like are just behaviors in general that kind of are custom to students at that age. So
Yeah.
um yeah, there's this talk about social emotional learning in schools, and I'm like a big like proponent of that, just incorporating something that makes kids feel like safe to come to school. Like schools could be a safe haven, but I mean it just depends on administrators and, higher ups on what their vision is, so
Yeah.
uh,
It's important. You got to make learning fun. Like you
yeah,
really do,
exactly.
to keep the kids involved. Because if it's not fun, they're gonna be uninterested, and then they'll start being busy or getting busy doing something else. You know. Yeah. So I love that. That you're doing that with the younger generation and inspiring them. And then it also is like a passing of the torch too, you know. So did you have a moment in your life where there was kind of like a passing of the torch to you at all?
Oh my goodness, there's so many OGs in like the game. Like there was one of them was DJ Hayes. He's one of the original K-Dave mix masters, and we ran into each other at this jam in Santa Ana, and he was like said something on the lines of "It's gotta be you." I'm like,
That's dope.
damn, okay. So when you gave me that, I just, took that, and I brought that vibe and that energy to the Inland Empire in my own right. And then I took it to Coachella Valley. And I've just been kind of like bouncing around and just trying to build the area since, because out in Los Angeles, there's a mecca out there for street dance, and there's always something to do. But
Yeah,
when you look at the regions, like we're kind of a region that's overseen by other people, but at the same time, like there's people that are starting to learn about us, like Nas, the rapper Nas. He gave us a shout out in the IE, like, how's that IE weather? But
yeah,
the producer of that particular song is from the Inland Empire. So it's like there's a bigger region of like, talent out here between the Inland Empire, and it goes all the way to the Coachella Valley, and it's like, for me, it's such a big region. And so I'm just doing, my due diligence in my area, and I've done stuff in Pomona and stuff like
hmm,
that in LA County, but it's just for me, I just kind of like focus on like the places that I reside mainly. Because I feel like there is a niche, and there is definitely potential of like this to grow, and parents are starting to like kind of jump on because it's a new generation too of
yeah,
parents, nowadays, and so they're have more
yeah,
understanding of like, the culture.
yeah.
So
That is
it,
our generation. Isn't
that,
that
exactly,
crazy? Like we're the parents now. Like and
right.
I can appreciate that because especially you know millennials, we have like that mixture of old school and new school. So it's like we're right in the middle, and we're the generation that's kind of bridging that gap because we have somewhat of an old school mentality, but
Mm.
then it's like we got that new school where we can understand certain things and connect with that younger generation. So, and I think you're like a perfect example of that. That's great. So passing from the torch from the OGs, and now you
Yeah,
got it on your back, and now you giving it to the next generation. That's like a perfect setup. Um, helping the next generation to come into it, and then they can do the same thing, and that's how things stay alive. Because you don't, if you're not passing on to the younger generation, it dies out. So that's the wonderful thing about what you're doing.
yeah, and it was been a great journey because I've been able to see like the the bigger picture just going in because I went into battles as just a battler, not even tunnel vision, and I just wanted to battle.
Mm.
But then I didn't really have respect for the DJ until I started DJing. I didn't have respect for the host until I started hosting. So now I'm able to see like the whole broader spectrum of things, and I'm just like, this was like when I was like early in LA, just, college student trying to make my way out there in the area and just, create something for myself, make a name for myself basically, which
Yeah.
I proudly have. People know who I am. I mean, if you don't know, better ask somebody.
I heard that.
At the same time, it's like I'm trying to take what I've learned and just apply it to like the region where I'm at and just kind of make things more interesting. I mean, kids are also wanting to compete in something. They also want like something to be a part of. And if football or track, they're not, or soccer, they can't be a part of that or they miss tryouts. Okay, well, try to be in a breakdancing team or something that you could, test your own like athleticism, put your own athleticism to the test.
Yeah, that's what's
Um,
up. So,
yeah.
so I know you said a second ago you didn't have a certain a respect for appreciation for certain things until you actually started doing it. So like, so what
Yeah.
was your mindset before, like when you were dancing, and what was your mindset towards the DJ or the host, and then how did it change, or what actually changed once you started doing it?
Well, mainly it was more selfish. Like I just want to get in the battle. I want to win. That was
Okay.
just like the mindset. But I mean, I've done my time and just like entering battles and making top 8, top 4, top 16, whatever the case is. But I just over the time I just kind of grew a love for not the battles, because battles are always, gonna be around, but it was just like that cipher environment. Just there's multiple circles and you just share your energy with like the people around you.
Yeah.
And I feel like entering a jam in Los Angeles doesn't compare to me ciphering with some OGs and some poppers in Chicago. It's just like a different feel because it's just another vibe. Like they
Yeah.
have an energy about them out there that, they're very dancers in Chicago are dope. I have one dude named Sid. Shout out to Sid. He's a dope popper from Chicago and he's repping the city like, he's repping it right. For
That's
real.
what's
He's a
up.
dope popper.
Shout out to
Um,
Sid. Appreciate you, bro.
exactly. Kentucky. Shadow Puppets, they're like another little they're a group out there in Chicago. They're just doing big things for the city. And the thing about them that I appreciate is like their graphic design work is on point, the promotions are on point, and they have people come from all walks of like life to that part of Chicago to battle. And every battle is just I can show you like probably in another maybe another conversation we can just talk strictly popping. I
Yeah,
can show you like battle footage of like people from Montreal versus, some place in Europe happening in Chicago. Like what the hell?
that's
So it's crazy and it's my thing is I'm trying to build it out there in the desert. So, but it's like being able to I mean, for me it's like we can do big scale, but for
mhm.
me I'm just trying small scale because I feel like that's where the more intimate like community is a little bit. And
Yeah.
then it'll branch out to something bigger, but we got to plant the
It's
seeds.
it's more personable when you're doing that small scale, and then people are able to reach out to you, whereas you're doing it on a big scale and having these clinics and things like that, and thousands of people are coming. It's a little bit of a distance between you and the crowd. But yeah, I like how
Yeah.
you're doing it. So we got to get into this. Speaking of, you were talking about the different regions. Let's talk about
Mhm.
the Olympics. So
Mhm.
I want to ask you, from somebody being in the dancing community and popping, um, do you think that breaking and b-boying, do you think that that should be an Olympic sport? And then also, how did you feel about how it was represented in these past Olympics?
Yeah. I think that breaking should be an Olympic sport for the sake that, if breaking is an Olympic sport, it opens up the chances of like football is going to be an Olympic sport, like 7-on-7. It opens up the chances of other sports being considered for the Olympics. So it's like people are bashing on like it shouldn't have been an Olympic sport, but really it does open the gates for other sports in that regard. But also it takes a lot of athleticism and obviously like there's a lot of talent here in the world. There's so much more talent to b-boys that we didn't really get to see in the breaking competition. So it was like we
I
just got
agree.
like a surface scratch that we just like scratched the surface on like what breaking really is versus what we saw, and I mean we're bashing Australia like crazy, and I'm hearing like a lot of like
You
negativity
went
about
there. I
that,
wasn't gonna go there.
um yeah, exactly. No, no, exactly. I'm just kind of putting like put elephant in the room, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and it's like for me, honestly, it's like a two-part thing because a part of me is kind of like, well, personally seen b-boys from Australia kill it, murder battles. Like, there's like a whole like scene of just b-boys, but one thing people kind of sleep on with the Olympics, to first off, to be an Olympic athlete, you got to like be able to pass drug tests. And one of the biggest thing in especially being in California,
Yeah.
a lot of people we indulge, and it's like, how are you gonna pass it? Like Michael Phelps got in trouble, right? For that
Yeah.
same reason. And it's
Shakari got
like
in trouble.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like we just gotta watch ourselves, But I mean, if it does come back, there's definitely gonna be some more like hands in the pot when it comes to like structuring it. But it's just I try to look at the silver lining at, something that started, it's like a black and Latino dance from New York that just
Mhm.
sparked from New York and it just spread all over the world. And you were able to see that there were dancers from Japan, there were dancers from China, there were dancers from Lithuania. Like
Yeah.
th- there's street dancers from South Africa. They even had B-girls that were refugees from, the from like the Middle East region, you know what I mean? And so it
Okay.
was just
Yeah,
like,
I didn't know that.
yeah, so it was like with all the qualifiers and stuff like that, like for me, like when I saw that, just me being a street dancer in general, just starting dancing in parks and street dancers, they work hand in hand. They all get down at parks, parking structures, parking garages, like all of these like, things. But for somebody like me to see someone else from USA being represented in something that we came up in, like
Yeah.
as I say one nation under a groove, doing it just for the funk of it, like
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing to see. So I'm like, proponent of just like keeping that going because it's gonna motivate kids who I think this girl, her name is B Girl Logistics. She's from here in Cali, but she's repping Team USA. She was the B Girl. She
Okay.
said that there's a lot of kids who don't have money to go to the major studios or they don't have money to do gymnastics. They don't have money
Right.
to do like, all of these, other sports, but breaking is just something that's there for them to give them that opportunity. Like I'm hoping one day it'll spark some girl on the South Side to kind of get on repping her city with breaking. Common was a b-boy,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, he was. He was.
it's like there's a lot of like it's there, there's a lot of potential to grow and to be educated, but we also need advocates and support in order for us to like build programs, not just like here in the US, but like in other regions, and it's
Yeah.
like it was an introduction, so
That's what's
but
up.
yeah.
So because I know that it's controversial, and I know they were talking about maybe not bringing it back. Because I know LA is supposed to be hosting the next Olympics. Um, but I feel like maybe just me personally, I feel like maybe if they do another pool of
Mhm.
contestants or something, try to make sure it's represented better.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, what I saw, some of the stuff I was not impressed. Knowing what it is and what I've seen over the years and knowing the history of it. And I was like, this the Olympics, man. This is like you're supposed to be like the best of the best of the best. But
Mhm.
hey. So hopefully we'll give it another chance for the Olympics in LA and then too with it being in LA, come on now. So it should I feel like they should really open up an opportunity for um I guess I hate to say like more qualified, but a more representation. You get what I mean?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, and more representation and yeah, I mean it's it's a mix of that. Like this is like such a better argument than like my lady friend. We're over here arguing about Chris Brown being in the Olympics and I'm like, "Nah, Chris Brown is a freestyler, but he's not a break dancer."
Yeah, yeah.
But
He could dance, but yeah, he a freestyler. You right.
freestyle is just it's a whole nother ball game. But what I will say is like I'm just hoping that this opens up like room for other street dance styles to be represented in the future. Because I mean there's a lot of talent between here in the US and other countries and
It is.
I yeah, I'm just trying to see like the future's bright too. I mean, who knows, like down the line some of the kids that I am teaching, they might be the next, we never know, if they're any
Yeah,
kids can be the next big B-boy, B-girl
yeah.
repping their section. So,
I
I'm
know
just
we were talking about the the viral video that you and I both saw of
mhm.
the guys that were well they weren't popping or breakdancing, but they were footworking. Remember we were talking
Yeah,
about that?
Chicago.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah.
were footworking. I think I don't remember the country name, but I know it was like I think it was China or something like that. But these young kids were like Chicago footworking and were, I mean, getting it in. And I was like, I didn't even know footworking was over there. I didn't even know they they knew about footworking. And I'm like, they'll put me to shame. So
Exactly. There's so
yeah,
many sub styles on like with like for example you mentioned Chicago footworking and like different countries. There's crump and like the crump dance where it's really from here in LA. They have it in Asia, South Korea, but when those dancers get down, they're just like their concepts are just like nasty. So I'm
yeah,
always just it's just interesting to see like how we have different people and different cultures that how they move like with
yeah,
our movement, and crumping does come from African movement, so
mhm,
it's been told, and so it's like for to see it like from other people, it's like a crazy I don't know, it's just like it's like a phenomenon, honestly.
yeah.
But it's a
And
really cool phenomenon.
I love how because they'll take what it is and put their spin on it from their cultural spin on it, you know.
Yeah.
So you might see them do a slight hand gesture or a slight movement that's based upon their culture and it adds a little extra flair to it, a little extra pizzazz, and it's like, oh yeah, that's dope. So yeah, that reminds me of that show that used to be on MTV. I forgot the name of it, but that's how I got introduced to Jabberwockies.
Oh,
Um,
America's Best Dancer. Yeah.
yeah. That was my show. I hated when they canceled that. I was so mad because I was
That shit was
tuned in, and it's like I personally, I love dancing myself. Like I never been a part of the dance crew or anything like that, but I love that. I'm a free spirited dancer. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I truly appreciate the art, and that's why I love what you're doing. And you know I be up and down on your page, so
Oh yeah.
all the time. But I love it because it takes a lot. You know, it takes a lot of thought, and you have to be intentional, and it's different than just like you said, Chris Brown and freestyling. You know what I mean? The freestyling is kind of what you feel in that moment, and you go with the flow. Whereas you're actually sitting there planning out some choreography, and you're being intentional, and you're popping and moving, and it's a technicality to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
So,
it's technicality, and then it's like there's just so much more to be influenced by. He like when old OGs back in the days, they got inspired by the old claymation,
mhm,
all that crazy like movement
yeah,
that they were doing. They got inspired by those animation films, but nowadays kids are getting inspired by today's video games, and like it's just crazy to see how an engineer dances to like popping and how they move
mhm,
because they're thinking their mind just like is like in like a grid system where they're incorporating movement. It's just a new way of moving, and that's what I like about popping because it's very mechanical, but you
yeah,
can take movements and you can create matter out of nothing, from like a wave or You can throw a wave here and then throw a wave in another direction, but you're still keeping like the concept intact. So, and it's crazy. Like I learned mo some movement by this hidden figure in popping. His name is Tabo,
Okay.
and you're an LA dancer in the popping scene and you haven't heard of Tabo, you haven't been in the popping scene because this man is a Japanese dude who studied martial arts, but he incorporates that same concept and movement. So he inspired a lot of dancers with the way that he teaches,
Yeah.
and he finds a way to contract different muscles. Like he found a way to contract the muscle in your back, and how it makes your pop look different. So
Oh, wow.
he's still till this day, he's still teaching in LA at this bridge in LA, and people know it's like if you know, you know about it.
Hmm.
But people go and they just session on Wednesday nights under in the city, and Tabo is usually there just, teaching people. And it comes like this slow movement where you're like one, two, three, four, five. He teaches like how to like move.
Yeah,
And I've had a chance to learn from people like him and been able to apply it and why I'm like so controlled when I move now. And yeah, it's just a lot of different people that, inspire it movement. It's easy to get inspired by movement through martial arts,
hmm,
boxing, and whatnot. It's like interchangeable.
that's good.
So
I like that. And for me, one of my favorites is like I like popping and I like tutting and uh the robotic movement.
robotic.
Oh
Yeah.
man, when it's just something about that, like making your body move unhuman like. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like I just think that's so dope. Like, yeah, that's
Like,
cool.
and it's like acting and character. It's like being a character and whatnot. I think one of the things I always liked as a popper was like having character and being awesome because I'm just so serious when I'm popping. I'm so like I got a lot of anger inside.
Yeah.
Uh,
Gotta
and
let
just
it go, let it go.
exactly let it go. And it's uh it's just really cool to kind of see how it's kind of evolved and it's still evolving. And now it's like we're trying to stay as close to like what the original like formation looked of popping. I mean, as just trying to look as close as they did back in the days as possible.
Yeah,
And within even California, like we have different styles between the North, like the Bay Area and like San Jose to LA and San Diego. And even Orange County's got like, the Asian communities out there. They get down too. So it's like we got the dance intact out here in the region. I mean, me, I'm all the way in the IE Coachella Valley region, and so it's interesting because this is popping, right? I'm talking
yeah,
pop locking. Meanwhile, in the Coachella Valley, they're inspired by Memphis juking, which is a style that's out of Tennessee. So all these Mexican kids are dancing to Memphis juking. Like I'm talking about like 8 Ball MJG,
that's dope.
UGK, like they're all into that. So I'm just like, what I'm like, I'm like an ambassador over here, just like, what is this? Okay, we're gonna figure this out and we're gonna help y'all. I'm gonna help y'all like build. So but to respect to like the younger generation for stepping up to the plate and doing their own thing. So I'm just like being like a support to like
That's
the younger generation too. So
I like that. So I
yeah.
know I used to love listening to E40 and what's his name? Keek the Sneak.
Ooh,
Uh
yeah.
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 Am I telling my age? Um, but
Like,
I used to love watching their videos because the dancing in the videos was always on point. And I remember being in my living room trying to do that stuff, bro. And I I could
right.
picture me now. But so what technical name or what is that that they will be doing in those videos? Do you know?
Oh, and the Keep the Stick videos when they're like gliding and whatnot,
Yeah.
that's turfing. That's all turfing. That's a Bay Area style
Okay.
that comes from, well, if you want to talk about popping and boogaloo,
Mhm.
boogaloo and popping, like they're two different styles, but they have Oakland Boogaloo has its own like form of Boogaloo with these gentlemen by the name of Black Resurgence. So like that's like that generation in the Bay Area.
Okay.
And I mean, I can't even talk on them, but I just know about them because of like, me studying like the history of like dances
Yeah.
but they have their own form of like, dance that in the Bay Area, and turfing was like the subset of popping. So you have popping at the very top of the umbrella, and you
Mm.
have all these sub styles. You have waving, you have tutting, you have turfing, and people will be doing turfing in in like tur I mean tur popping and turfing, my bad. It's like a lot of popping moves in turfing, a lot of tutting and turfing, a lot of glides. So there was this group called America's, no, it's called Supreme Soul. I don't know if you remember the season two of America's Best Dance Crew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They were that,
They
and
sound
the
familiar.
Supreme Soul, they were from the Bay Area.
Okay.
Um, so those guys, I was hoping they would win because they were sick. They had like the hip hop like flow, but they also had that Bay Area style.
Yeah.
And so a couple of the guys in there had experience with turfing. So that's why you're able to see like all these little digits that they're doing. And
That
um,
yeah, that's my favorite. That's what that is. That's called turfing.
Well, that's finger tutting, but a lot
Okay.
of turfers, they've taken the movement and they kind of created their own thing. They have these dudes named the Turf Fiends, and they're out in Oakland. They're always doing events out there
Mm-hmm.
in that area, and they're just kind of like showcasing different dance styles. Um, but yeah, that's turfing, and then it can also be bone breaking too. Bone breaking is when they start contortioning and doing
Yeah, and
all
they
that,
doing that. Oh, we.
all that bone breaking. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
it's
I saw that was on the show too, and I think that was the first time that I had ever seen that when
and
it
they
was
were
on the show, and I was
yeah.
like, "Whoa, what what is that?" It was
Like
cool.
gas masks.
Yeah,
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 yeah. Now they wear gas masks and like, I mean, there's just so many styles, of like sub styles of street dance, but it's like in there you can see flashes of popping and locking or breaking, so I feel like they're breaking and popping, they're like people think like one's behind, they kind of like started at the same time because remember New York is when they had like breaking and like the start of like hip hop culture.
yep,
Here in
yep.
California, we had like that funk movement. Not to mention we had funk in like Chicago, Indiana,
Hmm.
um, Ohio, we had all of that. But in the 80s, like we had just black music.
Yep.
And so it would like going to the West Coast, like before and breaking was a thing, we had like Soul Train and we had like all of these other like shows that, showed roboting and the Boogaloo and um, yeah, it was just the original lockers. Like that's another like California like pastime. So it's like they're different, but now it's everything's kind of like universal within cipher culture. It's like we try to in street dance now it's like all styles, which is
Hmm.
basically all styles against each other in that realm. But now it's like we're trying to go back to just having individual style battles now. So that's the next move, honestly. Just going back to like original like styles, just building out communities that way
Oh, all right.
with
So,
like,
oh, no, go ahead. You said, well, what?
oh no, no, it's just individual styles, just like breaking battles, popping battles, turfing battles, just
Yeah, the
bringing that back.
old school way of doing it, right?
Hey, family, thanks for tuning in. Look, this interview got so good, I had to break it up into two parts. So come on back next week and catch the ending of this wonderful interview with Chris Bishop. As always, your crown may be tilted, but never, ever let it fall. Peace and love.